August 11, 2024. Is that right? Am I right? Yes, I'm right. Hope you're all doing well. Hello, Jake and Donnie and Sandra and Bird's Eye Video and Analog Synth Player and Alicia DeMoss, Geofactor 3. Geofactor 3, I just want to say I'm so sorry for your circumstance. I have been reading your comments, and yeah, they hit home. I'm so sorry. Tony Bello, Rage Against the Machine. And also, if you're going to be, and this is not at Geofactor 3, but if you leave public comments, I hope you understand that on occasion people, not just myself, but they may raise, those comments and respond to them. Okay, just early on in my YouTube career, which is hardly a career, somebody got very upset at me for reading a comment that was left in public space. Okay, if you don't want any kind of response, then please don't leave comments. Okay, so Tony Bello, Rage Against the Machine, Francis Patron, Angelo, Something to Chew On, Patty Clements, hello, Amber Eyes, Diana, hello, Blues du Jour, Ray Clay read your email. Wow, from Tuesday to Friday, no power for you in Ohio. Well, we'll get to that. I'm not even sure we'll get to it today. We may get to it another day. But hello, Diana, and D. Moore, Eminem, and Bella, Oracle 11, Troy, McCully, the Hypocrites Matrix, my girl, Kim Blanchard, BMCC, Mark Anthony, Yaz, Will, Soaring. How dare you? Okay. Trent Robb, T. Lamb, hey. Way of the Blood, Carol. Yeah, you got hit hard. 100,000 still without power? Okie dokie, that's not good. Christopher James. Alright, here we go. Good old radar. Look at all of these storms hugging the Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina coast. Yeah, they're saying that there's another possible hurricane coming to Florida this week. I don't know if you've been keeping up on what's happening with the weather. While I've been gone the past week, the amount of devastation all over the East Coast into Pennsylvania, Montreal, and they're claiming that it's a tropical storm or Hurricane Debbie. Yeah, the hurricanes / tropical storms that never, ever stop now. They just make their way into Florida all the way on up into Canada. Something's very wrong there. That needs to be questioned. Oh, it's climate change. Climate change has strengthened the hurricanes. When they finally make landfall, they just never, ever stop. In fact, they come back and, yeah, they can hit you twice. Oh, boy. So much needs to be questioned. Well, you got the supercell action going on. This huge precipitation boiling bubble, that's what it looks like here in Central Florida. It's just boundary to boundary, west to east. And southeast Georgia, you sure do not need more rain, right? Look at the frequencies going through these storms here. You got Kansas, Colorado, Nebraska. Look at these frequencies that you will never hear mainstream media nor YouTube meteorologists ever mention them. Whole lot of precipitation nanobots activated for Utah, for Arizona, New Mexico. And San Diego, look at these frequencies belting this storm down here in southern California, San Diego region. So, fortunately, well, I have to refresh. No tornado warnings. That's good, but of course you got the severe weather in Colorado, Kansas, North Carolina, and Nebraska. And where do you have what counties? In Colorado, you got Adams, Arapahoe, Arapahoe, Denver, Kit Carson. In Kansas, Yuma, Sherman. North Carolina, Johnston, Nash, Wilson. Nebraska, Cherry, Hooker, Thomas. And Kansas, Cheyenne, Sherman, Adams and Weld in Colorado, Arthur Gordon Grant, McPherson. Yeah, a lot of places in Nebraska and Cherry, Nebraska. So the link is in the chat. Be very careful. Stay alert, because weather warfare is taking out. Thousands have had their homes destroyed or damaged this past week. Okay? From Florida all the way up. Southeast Savannah got hit hard. Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and on into Canada. Let's just say weather warfare is no joke. No joke. You had to toss all your food, Ray Clay. That was Ohio. Ohio. The severe weather in Ohio. Were they claiming that that was Debbie in Ohio? I hope not. I hope not. So Ray Clay in Ohio, I think it's the Cleveland area. I'm not sure. They were just claiming that they were under a possible heavy rain event, but no microbursts or tornado threats. But they got them. I don't know if they got tornadoes, but they got the microbursts. Oh my God, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. And I have to say two things. One, I've never been so overwhelmed with what is going on than I have been just in the past couple of days. That's why it's taken me so long to start a live stream again. And I'm not even sure how it's going to go. But overwhelm, it's very hard to think clearly when you're overwhelmed. And what did I do? 6 days without a live in my 13 going on 14 years? This stretch has been the longest stretch that I have not posted. Ray Clay, Northeast Ohio, just south of Cleveland. Wow. Okay, well, let's get into it. What do I have? Let's start with the weather, as I am wont to do. Have very little on what's happening in our country because I'm overwhelmed. I was like, how? Because I always want to do the details. I always want to show, all of the counties that get hit. It's impossible to do for one live stream. But here's Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, Tropical Storm Debbie. Yeah, okay.
United States of America, August 9th, 2024. Reports of severe flooding are coming out of Westfield, Tioga County on Friday. Many buildings and vehicles have been swept away by floodwaters. Several people are trapped on rooftops. Several bridges have been washed away and roads are underwater. Helicopter and boat rescue units are on the way. A flash flood emergency remains in effect for parts of the north-central area as of midday Friday. Residents trapped on their rooftops await rescue amid a flash flood emergency in Westfield, Pennsylvania. The Karanesk River in Westfield is now at a new record high of 12 feet as of 12:30 p.m., beating the previous record of 11 feet set in 1996.
My God. Oh my God.
Major flooding throughout the city. Command on scene with most of the city underwater. Many people are trapped. Many water rescues are underway. Rescue teams are also trapped, a social media post said. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Warning for Potter County in north-central Pennsylvania, West Tioga County in north-central Pennsylvania.
Oh my
As of noon.
Many homes destroyed in Pennsylvania. Also upstate New York, but New York City, Queens, Brooklyn, the boroughs, trees hitting power lines. Hundreds of trees came down in New York City. Our trees are very weak. Debbie brings down hundreds of trees across tri-state, which is Connecticut, New Jersey, New York.
Cleanup crews expected to be out this morning across the tri-state to pick up remaining debris left behind from the remnants of Debbie. The major storm brought rain, gusty winds that surprised some people, knocked out power lines, brought down hundreds of trees. In Whitestone, Queens, one of those trees came crashing down as a Con Ed worker was responding to that area to help out. A big branch was literally seconds from landing on top of him. Oh. Thankfully, he was quick. He got out of harm's way just in time.
It sounded like a big bang or explosion. I thought it was a car crash.
It's not even raining and it's this windy. I understand the hurricane seasons are coming, but this is insane.
In the Woodlawn section of the Bronx, power lines started a small fire after another tree smashed into the power lines there, the utility poles. The good news is no reports of any widespread power outages or anybody seriously hurt as a result of that storm.
Yeah. And there are so many news broadcasts interviewing people, and they're like this one man in Florida who was talking about he lost everything, his cars, his vehicles, his home, everything in it. And he said, I don't know how I'm going to do this financially. He said his wife was undergoing dialysis treatment. His son starts school. He's afraid that he's going to be homeless. He doesn't. So many people were saying, I don't know what to do. Where do you start? I don't know. Neighborhoods that every homeowner didn't have any home insurance because they were in a no flood zone. Oh my God. We're in the middle of crisis. I don't want to see anybody saying that crisis is coming. It may not have affected you yet, but we are in the middle of a major, major crisis. And Americans, more and more, are going down every single day. A dam breached Bullock County. I think, doesn't matter where it is at this point. But, I want to say, well, I'm not going to want to say, I'm just going to say Georgia. I was going to say Jacksonville, but Jacksonville is kind of close to Georgia.
Here at Simmons Pond. This is a family property. I talked with the owners and they said this has not been the case since 2007. I want my photographer to give you a look. This is a man-made dam. You can see where the roadway is. It's about 6 to 8 feet above where the water line is right now. Last night, the property owner told me he checked it before he went to bed. The water was about 9 inches below that dam. But at some point overnight and into this morning, that dam breached. So all this water normally is not here. This is normally a dry area, according to the property owner. And interestingly enough, this is still a pretty wild scene that we're looking at, but some officials say that it looked even worse earlier today. In just the last 10 minutes, I want my photographer to show this way. Bullock County officials actually brought in some dirt to block off the bridge. As Jonathan was just mentioning, we are expecting more rain into this afternoon and this evening. So Bullock County officials are making sure to be prepared, block off this bridge in case the water rises any more. And in just the last 5 minutes, GDOT has just arrived. I've not been able to talk to them to see what they're doing here, but I imagine they are likely checking out to make sure everything is good to go and safe for people here in Bullock County. Again, officials reminding people to stay indoors. As we were getting out to this scene, it was about 20 minutes. We stayed in Statesboro last night, and we're now in the city of Brooklet. As we were on our way in, we saw several areas where ponds had overflowed into culverts. Now, obviously, that's a little bit of a concerning thing to see, but ultimately, it's those culverts doing their jobs. It's a lot of rain, but the fact that they're not on the roads is a good thing. Bullock County.
There are a lot of areas where people are stuck. They can't get out because of the massive amount of water on the roads. I'm trying to be positive. Days-long power outage impacting local business, Cleveland.
Rob, in Willoughby Hills, the damage is everywhere, but I'm going to show you why it's taking so long to get that power back up and running. It's sites like this. Take a look. It looks like just a tree, but if you look closer, the power lines entangled in those branches that were taken down by the wind. This is why power is not back up and running, but that site is also affecting businesses and their entire teams.
We make homemade pizza that, you know, is fabulous.
At Mario Fazio's for 50 plus years, they've been known for their Italian favorites.
What would I usually hear in this restaurant right now?
So Mario Fazio's is very fun. There's always stuff happening here.
And good time. But with no power, a room that's usually filled now sits desolate.
It's reminiscent of COVID because of the unknown. We don't know when the power is going to come back on.
Lisa Fazio says they lost power during the storm. As one day turned into 4, they've thrown out all their food.
Thousands and thousands of dollars.
Canceled reservations and catering orders.
That was the hardest part of this. We had funerals, showers, reunions, to company events.
And haven't been able to provide work for their employees.
They need their paychecks. They're working.
She's not alone. Days later, the effects of Tuesday's severe weather can still be seen on the ground where debris and power lines lie.
We've had about 120 calls since the onset of the storm.
City Council President Michael Klein tells News 5 Tuesday, 85% of the city had no power. As of Friday morning, 50% of customers have their electricity restored.
It's the ones that take the longest, that are the most difficult to reconnect.
Others are told it may be another week. They are working on getting
Another week. Another week. This was posted a day ago. Another week. Okay, so when your power goes out, you can't expect it to go back on in a couple of hours or even a day. We know this when we have seen what's happened in Texas, and we sure do know now with this severe weather, a whole lot of people all over the country are having to suffer very long power outages. In fact, Mama Rages said, I think it was her sister. Oh, I can't find it, but she said that her sister lives in Ohio. She just got power back on. And she is also saying, just had a cat fight and my poor cat is traumatized. Oh boy. Sorry to hear that. So yeah, you cannot expect power to be back on, and don't expect any kind of communication coming from your power, from your utility companies, because that does seem to be... I woke up, was it yesterday morning? And the power was out here, and I thought it was very funny because the subscriber who owns this house said the night before that they've only had 2 power outages in all the time that she's lived there. I wake up, power is out, but it came back quickly. So it's, I really think that they're just shutting it off in a lot of places, but you know, did they do anything to update the infrastructure? No. You're continuing to pay rate hikes for those utilities that you get, but they don't do anything. And all of the geoengineering that has destroyed the immune systems of the trees don't have the strength to handle any kind of wind. Oh, another week. Okay. I thought I was going to die. Steuben County, I believe, is upstate New York.
It's a somber scene on the streets in the village of Canisteo tonight as residents start to come back to the area to check on friends and really take in the damage.
Driveways were flooded and the water was coming up over in that ditch, and I went in the house and it wasn't 5 minutes later that the water just came roaring down.
Karen Heckel lives in the hot spot of the town of Canisteo, the place that saw the most damage. Her home flooded.
My house got surrounded by water, like muddy, roily water, and I called 911 for them to come and get me, and they said they were sending somebody, and they never came, and I thought I was going to die.
Karen's worry growing as the water filled her home when neighbor Chris happened to be driving by.
I saw him come over by the bushes, and I go, oh my God, there's somebody here with a canoe, and it was you.
While Karen was waiting to get out of the house, she told me she saw a house across the street from her washed away by the power of the floods. Remnants of that house scattered along State Route 36. A Jeep off-roaded with a tree sticking out of its backseat windows. Connie Mullen told me the area is known for farmers, her brother being one of them, and suffering a major loss today.
He's lost major crops. He had soybeans in, corn. His round bales were washed away.
Connie says Canisteo went through something similar 3 years ago with a flash flood, but the aftermath was not this intense.
Just the trees were just amazing how many trees were down, and the roads are closed, bridges are out. Just amazing how forceful and dangerous water can be in a matter of an hour.
Oh, wow. I just wish... Oh boy, how many times have I said it? Can't stand repeating myself, but I just wish that people would do some research to find out that this is not climate change, that this is weather warfare, and this country is being taken down. Oh, wait, so are an awful lot of other countries, but what happens after you see this kind of destruction, devastation?
That's double the annual average in the years since 1980. $19 billion disasters, according to data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's double the annual average in the years since 1980. Of course, the year isn't even close to over. And remember, August through October is when we usually see the worst of hurricane season. And as climate change fuels a stark increase in extreme weather, it is also driving up the cost of homeowners insurance. In recent decades, Texas has seen more billion-dollar disasters than any other state, causing the price of homeowners insurance premiums there to skyrocket. Scott Friedman, senior investigative reporter at NBC's owned station in Dallas-Fort Worth, has more.
Take your tornado precautions, get as low as you can.
There's no doubt destructive weather
4 tornadoes took lives and destroyed homes and businesses
is part of living in DFW.
Along the hardest hit streets, not a home is untouched.
The devastation is widespread here.
Melinda Clifton has seen hail take out her roof 3 times in 2 decades. Homeowners insurance paid her claims, but then came a bill that hit like a hurricane.
$8,800 for 1 year.
The year before, Clifton paid about $2,600 for homeowners insurance. Now the insurance company wanted more than 3 times that amount.
What did you think when you saw that number? I said it's an unimaginable number. I don't understand it.
With insurance increasing her house payment by hundreds of dollars a month, she questioned if she could afford to stay.
I thought, am I going to have to sell my home? The home I raised my children in.
Clifton's not the only one stunned by sky-high rates. NBC5 Investigates analyzed new data from the Texas Department of Insurance. We discovered last year alone, Texas homeowners insurance companies asked the state to approve double-digit rate increases more than 150 times. So far this year, they've asked for 74 more. One company requested a 73% increase. And the number of double-digit increase requests has gone up 560% since 2014.
How long can Texas consumers hang on in an environment like that?
The reality, Scott, is they can't. If these rates keep skyrocketing like this, we're going to see a big impact all across the housing market.
Ware Wendell heads a nonpartisan consumer group that advocates for lower rates.
We are in the midst of an insurance crisis in the state of Texas and actually all across the country. Insurance companies are jacking up rates through the roof.
Insurance companies insist the increases are necessary to survive in Texas.
What do you say? Do you think that they're necessary? Well, with all of this weather warfare, but I've seen so many people having to fight their insurance company just to get what they deserve. Look, everything is just being jacked up, and yeah, a whole lot of people already can't survive it. So, all right, what else do I have for you? How about Debbie remnants cause tornado watches, flash flooding threats from South Carolina to New England. Okay.
Debbie delivering one final punch, this time to the Northeast, already soggy for rain this week, downpours triggering significant flash flooding. First responders rescuing families and pets amid flash flooding emergencies, water overtaking roads in Woodhull, New York. Whole structures pulled away in the raging rapids in rural Westfield, Pennsylvania, near the New York border.
I couldn't walk across if I wanted to.
Mecca Sackrider recording this video while trapped on her porch, furniture just drifting by.
My coffee table.
Water quickly filling her basement.
It was a very scary experience for me, honestly. Having a child during this experience is more scary as well. Our vehicle moved. It looks like a tree or something is the only thing holding my vehicle there.
What was once Hurricane Debbie starting its trek north today, inundating Washington, D.C. Tornado warnings forcing people inside the Capitol complex to shelter in place. Trees crashing onto homes across Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
I was buried in wood and insulation mainly, but I was able to, I crawled out of that.
And while Debbie has moved out of the Carolinas, the cleanup from its trail of destructive tornadoes underway. Some roads there still impassable with floodwaters on the rise.
Make no mistake, this stubborn storm and its effects are not over.
Debbie making a lasting impression. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
Happening now, Pennsylvania and New York are sinking. Water is dragging homes away. I think you saw some of this.
Pennsylvania, USA, August 9, 2024.
This is in Pennsylvania. Think about what Florida looks like in Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina. This say so.
The dispatcher with the Board of Commissioners has issued a declaration of emergency, and the National Guard was en route for about mid-morning Friday.
The whole town.
How about Alaska? A dammed lake release, glacial dammed lake release, resulting in flooding for Juneau neighborhoods.
Okay. Did the inside the house stay dry?
They're gonna get you any way they can. And of course, this is what the First Lady and the presidents are doing on their weekends. The president in Delaware. I'll post the link if you want to listen to this guy's commentary. I don't want to play it. I could get a, I don't know, copyright strike. But yeah, relaxing, having a good time. Meanwhile, how many Americans are suffering? Huh. Okay.
The remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie have left nearly 500,000 households without power.
The remnants of Debbie. Wow. Okay. In Montreal.
Power in southern Quebec as the storm unleashed widespread devastation. In Montreal, heavy rainfall caused extensive flooding, washing out roads, flooding basements, and even shutting down the city's light rail network, the RAM, due to a massive power outage. By 9 p.m., Montreal had been deluged with over 150 millimeters of rain, breaking the city's all-time daily record set in 1996.
Je pense que les assurances couvrent pas pour les inondations. Complètement fou. Aïe aïe. J'ai jamais vu.
Crews were Friday night in Quebec City due to the rain.
And of course, where you see the flooding, you also see the water shooting out of the sewer drainage systems. So, how about Italy again gets hit? Major hailstorm, hail flood streets.
Italy is hit by hail and strong winds. Water bomb in Borgo Sigia, in the Piedmont region, in the province of Vercelli, flooded streets and hail. The roads turned into rivers of water and ice. The temperature dropped below 20 degrees in a few minutes. Wind and then thunderstorms. Vegetable gardens, cars and roofs. Broken branches, clogged gutters and overturned. The same scenes can be seen in Turin.
China. Wow. Wow. Wow.
The downpours, which began on August 9, 2024, caused rivers and waterways to overflow, inundating homes, businesses, and infrastructure. The intensity and duration of the rainfall led to rapid water levels, overwhelming the region's drainage systems. The flooding caused extensive damage to the county. Residential areas were submerged, leaving countless residents displaced and without basic necessities. Agricultural lands were inundated, resulting in significant crop losses and economic hardship for farmers.
走走走，带娃背上背上，快！衣服脱了就得拔了嘛，你拔不出去嘛。背上背上。快掉了是吧？没事。
Yeah, when you're looking at that, I'm sure a lot think, I just want to walk away, never look at that again. Where do you begin? Where do you begin? Moscow.
As reported by the Moscow Department
August 7, 2024. The streets and roads of Moscow are flooded due to heavy rain and thunderstorms. This is reported by local news channel. The press service reports that a disaster is raging on the street of Moscow. Residents are urged to be careful on the roads. After all, over the past hour, Moscow has been hit by heavy rainfall in the form of rain and hail. It is reported that during this time alone, about 20% of the monthly rainfall fell.
Maybe they don't have the turnaround, don't drown. Messaging. Yemen. Attack on Yemen.
Yemen is suffering from serious flooding. First, the north of Yemen was flooded, and now the flood has devastated the country's capital, Sana'a.
Oh, what could it be? It's got to be climate change, right? I mean, if you don't know where Yemen is, it's just below Saudi Arabia. Desert. Okay, yeah, well, France, once again.
Severe storms, floods, landslides, broken trees, significant damage was reported throughout France. Wind gusts reached up to 90 km per hour in some places. Roads were blocked, several houses were flooded, and cars were even submerged. The water rose 2 meters and landslides began. We are talking about 26 municipalities. The prefecture of Vosges activated it.
Well, nobody can claim to be special. A special victim of weather warfare. We're all in it. Japan stopped, super typhoon, number 5. Tsunami warning. I can't imagine what the Japanese go through when they get their tsunami warnings.
The Power Super Typhoon designated Typhoon 5 is a total in northeastern region of Japan, causing widespread destruction and serious consequences for local residents. According to the Japan Meteorological Services, the typhoon was one of the strongest ever recorded in the region, with wind gusts exceeding 200 km per hour. Starting in the Pacific Ocean, Typhoon 5 quickly gained strength and reached Japan within a few days, causing heavy rainfall and strong force of wind accompanied by thunderstorms. Several deaths have been confirmed, as well as dozens of injuries, many of whom were injured by collapsed structures or falling debris. Fires are abundant.
And Venezuela.
El baño, las aguas corren y corren. Y lo llamamos pues. Va a mandar a los bomberos, que los bomberos vengan, jueguen vivo. Echemos por aquí para allá arriba. Como el bombero en línea. ¿Ah? No, yo no bajar, que le tumbó. Bebo.
Think of all of the farms that have been destroyed all over the world, all over the world. Think of those food shortages that are coming to all of us. So I'm hoping to get through these windows that I have open. This will be a quick one. Passenger plane with 61 on board crashes in fiery wreck in Brazil's Sao Paulo. I'm sure you all know about this, and they're claiming that they're speculating that it took a nosedive, spinning in the air, due to icing on the plane. Come on. I think it was taken out. Electromagnetic frequencies, whether it is emitted purposely, intentionally targeting a plane, or it's inadvertent and a plane can just get hit with an electromagnetic frequency, it can literally destroy its navigation, literally destroy the power of the plane.
A plane with more than 60 people on board crashed in Sao Paulo earlier today.
We do not currently know how many people were injured or if any died or why the plane went down. The airplane Voipaz confirmed the plane took off from Cascavel and was heading for Sao Paulo's International Airport. The plane crashed in the city of Venado with 58 passengers and 4 crew members aboard. Brazil's president observed a moment of silence at an unrelated event. He also said it appeared all passengers and crew aboard had died, but did not say how he knew that information.
Oh boy. I'd say this was quite the week. I'm going to link below to Brush Junkie's video on the 1-year anniversary of the fire in Lahaina. I can't believe 1 year has gone by since that horrific takedown of Lahaina. 1 year later, revealing reflections. And I recommend subscribing to Brush Junkie. She puts out a lot of very good information. Alright, so this window is jam-packed. I don't know if I can do it, but I don't have any particular time to end this. But Yorkshire Rose, how many times have I said, that I recommended subscribing to Yorkshire Rose because she goes around, Britain, to an awful lot of hotels that are migrant hotels. And boy, does she have courage. She confronts people at these hotels. This is what I get. Yorkshire Rose has been arrested by 5 police officers, being held at Normington Police Station. It is unclear what she has been charged with, but there are some reports that it's in connection with the recent Enough is Enough protests and riots. Wow. Yorkshire Rose. You're seeing a tyranny in the UK take place that should raise everybody's eyebrows all over the world. Not just Brits, not just Scots or the Irish, but everybody. Look at this.
Okay, I'm here with America's comedian Kurt Mexican.
Yeah,
Kurt is
more Mexican than ever, Jimmy.
What's that?
I'm more Mexican than ever.
Okay. So I want to show you this. This is China targets. So they're doing this. China targets with social credit score. One social media post that criticized the government can lose you 50 credit. So this is from CBS Morning.
Is the message that got you into such trouble? Zhang Aija, a former school counselor, showed us the message she reposted on social media, which cost her her job, even her home. It's incredible that these few paragraphs got you into so much trouble. I was shocked, she said. Our country is going backwards. The post was an apparent jab at China's President Xi Jinping. Police showed up at her school to question her, and days later she was fired and forced to leave her school housing. This is the 21st century, she said, so why does it feel like a society with an emperor? In other countries, people can criticize, even mock leaders.
Wow.
Wow. So she's saying that China honestly tells you they're going to do that, unlike here, where we have a thing called shadow banning, where they don't even tell you. You just lose stuff and you don't get to know why.
So, Kurt, thank God the Western world is the beacon of freedom and rights that put that kind of stuff to shame. I mean, the iron fist of China is not going to show. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. This is in the UK. This is not a stunt at a bachelor party. This is a real cop showing up to arrest someone for a Facebook post. You think I'm kidding? Watch this.
So,
What do you mean I can't have any alcohol?
okay, well, I'll tell you. Okay, the time's 20 to 3, 14:40. I'm arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the Electronic Communications Network. I'm just
What?
127 of the Communications Act, okay? So you do not...
Improper use of the Electric Communications Network. She's arresting this guy. Hang on, there's more to
May
it.
harm your defence if you do not mention one question, subject to later rely in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
So I'm actually being
You're
arrested.
going to be arrested, okay?
Right,
Take you
and-
up to the police station.
Right.
Ask you, okay? This is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay?
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Have you got anything in your pockets, Thomas?
I've got my keys. I got. No, that's made it. I think keys.
So they send a cop. They send a cop to a guy's house because of a Facebook post he made, and now it looks like they're about to give him a proctology exam. This is
Down. Aren't they having riots right now that they're not handling? And so they do this bullshit?
they're having riots right now that they're not handling. But this is what they send a cop who forces you to have femdom sex with her. That's what it looks like.
It's like that.
What could go wrong once they take your guns away, Kurt? What could possibly go wrong?
Jimmy, that's the spoons. You ever see where they busted knife crime and they had a spoon in the display of what they collected?
So
the cops are a joke. They always have been, but now they're a bigger joke.
I'm not sure. Maybe she could try to headbutt your way out of this one, but I don't know. Is it still fascism?
There was one video that apparently I don't have, but where in the UK they were, or in Britain somewhere, the police, it looked like SWAT police, were sawing through a door and then rammed it, went into this door. That this was to arrest protesters. Here, two-tier policing. I'm a victim of two-tier policing. So this woman, when you see all of the people who are rioting, who are busting, store windows, who are burning up cars, and there were a lot of Muslim protesting, and there is two-tier policing in Britain. It's clear. They leave the Muslims alone, and they're going after a whole lot of innocent people like this woman.
One of the local residents, Nikki, who I've been talking to, came out. She actually wanted to bring the police some refreshments and found herself being arrested.
My name's Nikki. I was arrested the day after the lady was arrested the day after the riots in Leeds. I went out basically to give the two police I could see from my window some refreshments, basically a couple of ice pops, because I thought from the carnage from the night before, I thought that bus must still be so hot, and they've been standing there for hours.
Let's cast back to what happened after you offered the police the ice lollies.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't accept your gesture.
No, they were quite angry at my presence being there. What are you doing here? I said, what? I've got two ice pops. I said, what, ice lollies, just, what are you doing here? And then that started to go home. But then, because this is happening, all the attention then is on me. The focus is on me. So all these, I felt like Kim Kardashian. It was all these cameras are in my face. And the lights on those camera phones are so bright, and they're literally up here in my face. And then all these men started to pull their hoods up and come towards me. They kept saying, "Go home, go home," and I thought, I can't go home because they're all going to see where I live. So I couldn't say that out loud. I just kept saying, "I'm not going home. I'm going home now. I live there. They're going to watch me go into all these people." And I kept saying, why are they here? Why are they here? Why are you allowing them to be here? Why? Because, like I said, they haven't come for a picnic. So why are they here? I wouldn't say they were angry people. It was just it was when they saw me, all hoods seemed to come up. I thought, what's going to go on here? Why are these people interested in me? And the focus all went on to me then. And I started to get really uncomfortable thinking, why are they all staring at me? Why are they coming towards me? The policeman said, the man on my right, if you don't go home, we're going to have to arrest you. And you can hear me say, well, you're going to have to arrest me then. So they're starting to grab hold of my arms. And I said, you don't need to manhandle me. But I'm armed with two ice lollies. I'm not a threat to you. How can I be a threat to you? There's no need for this. And then I also said many, many times, don't do this. Don't do this because you're giving them what they want. You're giving them what they want. Please don't do this. And then I'm now getting incensed because they're all shouting at me and I'm swearing, which I'm absolutely appalled at my language, because I'm incensed. I'm absolutely incensed by them because I don't know what I've lost control of my own surroundings, and that's not good with me. I like to, and why are you doing this to me? And I start to shout, why are you arresting me and not them? Why are you arresting me? The area, as impoverished as it is, we're a multicultural community, and we all live in harmony. This has nothing to do with race, absolutely nothing. It's to do with a bunch of people that committed crimes that I've never seen before. So
I'll post the link. You can listen to the remainder of the interview. Yeah, our countries are falling. And did you hear about the former CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, or I can't remember how to pronounce her name? She died at age 56, and just recently her son had died at the age of 19, a drug overdose in his dorm at UC Berkeley. Well, Susan is gone.
The former CEO of YouTube has just died suddenly of a turbo cancer that she just developed 2 years ago. Former YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki dies of cancer, aged 56. This comes just 8 months after her 19-year-old son was killed by a drug overdose. But more importantly, she developed this cancer and died after taking the COVID-1984 vaccine. The very same one she's been heavily promoting and banning people like me for warning people not to take it. Like in August of 2020 when I interviewed the Highwire's Del Bigtree on censorship and the coming mandatory vaccination program. And of course I was labeled as a conspiracy theorist for saying all of that back then, but it has all come to fruition. Our channels did get censored. And the vaccine did become de facto mandatory for many people. Remember when I posted this video on July 7th of 2020 titled Confirmed, the absolute science behind masks and the proof that they don't work with Denny Rancor. Wearing a mask may soon be mandatory depending on where you live, and this is causing a debate.
Well, that still can get us in trouble.
Children should be taking these vaccines or boosters. And then, 2 years later, World Health Organization says there's no evidence healthy children and adolescents need COVID boosters. Vindicated. Back then I was also explaining how they were fudging the numbers by claiming that people were dying from COVID when they were actually dying with COVID. And then 2 years later, a quarter of all COVID deaths are now patients who died with the virus, not from it. Official data shows. Vindicated. Ontario, first province to correct misinformation on COVID hospitalization numbers. Ontario is the first province in Canada to update its COVID-19 reporting system to better distinguish patients hospitalized because of the virus from those who tested positive for it after coming to the hospital for other reasons. Listen now to the late Susan Wojcicki at the World Economic Forum discussing how YouTube implemented certain policies surrounding so-called medical misinformation when it comes to COVID.
We're definitely investing a huge amount to make sure that we're fighting misinformation, and there are a number of different ways that we look at this. So the first would be, from a policy standpoint, we would look at content that we would think about in terms of being violative of our policies. So if you look at COVID, for example, we came up with 10 different policies that we said would be violative. Like an example of that would be saying that COVID came from something other than a virus. And we did see people attacking 5G equipment, for example, because they thought that it was causing COVID. And so that would just be an example of a policy that we would remove. So we do remove content based on those policies. We actually publish that in a transparency report. The second one would be really raising up authoritative information. So if you are dealing with a sensitive subject like news, health, science, we are going to make sure that what we're recommending is coming from a trusted, well-known publisher that can be reliable. And if you think about how Google works, it's very similar. Like if you type in cancer or you type in COVID, what you're going to get are going to be names that you recognize. They're not going to be someone that just published a web page yesterday. So it's very similar with regard to how we handle that on YouTube. The third is making sure that if there's content that's borderline content that technically meets our policy but is lower quality, that's content that we basically will not recommend to our users. Our users could still access it, but they will not recommend it. And then lastly, we're just really careful about what we monetize, so we always want to make sure that there's no incentive.
Okay. She's dead. Supercharged. Cancer. Wow. Well, so much is happening in our fabulous world that I don't even know what to say anymore. But I will post a link to Dan's video here because he has a lot more good information for you. The link is in the chat. Band attacked while performing on stage. A local band was attacked. Really?
Members of a local band are speaking out tonight after they were attacked on stage during a gig. But as Michelle Nix found, the man police arrested is believed to be the same person caught on camera hassling workers just minutes earlier.
A local band is used to applause, but this time they were met with a vicious attack, damaging their instruments. 2 of them were injured. Now a man is behind bars.
What began as a beautiful night and performance in the village of Roaming Shores by the local band Kings of Revelry quickly turned into an onstage attack and chaos, according to the band's drummer Thomas Clark.
The crowd was awesome. They were super into us and just came to an abrupt halt when this psychomaniac just bum rushed the stage and took out my lead singer Caleb Gull.
But even with 2 band members injured, the band and some in the audience held down the suspect, Joshua Bates, until police arrived.
What is wrong? What's going on? People are insane. Talk about insane.
Yeah, well, you can see behind me, the investigation's still going on right now. Accident reconstruction teams out here, police still out here, crime scene tape out here. This happened on Wildwood in Westland, probably around 7:15, 7:30. Now, take a look at this video that you were talking about. I know, Hillary, you've gotten a chance to see it. This is from the witness who saw a portion of what she was doing, pulling in, backing up, crashing into cars. You can hear the screeching right now. Crashed into his car on the street. We also talked to several other witnesses who also saw this, who called 911. In all of this, while she was crashing into the cars, she apparently hit a man and pinned him partially under his own car. His legs actually went underneath his car, the red car that you see in this video. We talked to a witness who didn't want to go on camera earlier tonight, but said that she actually stayed with him until 911 came.
What's going on with people? They're not quite right. Motel owner housing the homeless sues the city of Greenwood Village because they're not allowing this motel owner to house the homeless. I guess they allow for 29 days and that's it.
The city of Greenwood Village is in a battle with a motel owner saying that she cannot offer temporary shelter to people who are homeless or who have disabilities. She's suing, saying that city ordinance limiting motel stays to just 29 days is discrimination. The owner of the Motel 6 on Arapahoe Road in Greenwood Village says her motel is a quote-unquote safe haven for unhoused people with mental illness and or addiction issues. According to the federal lawsuit filed late last week, the motel's working with nonprofits and housing voucher programs to provide temporary shelter to more than 2,800 vulnerable families over the last 5 years. City of Greenwood Village does not like this particular approach. The city has a 10-year-old rule that prohibits people from renting a room there for more than 29 days within a 2-month period. They do make an exception in the rule for families in crisis. According to the lawsuit, the city told the motel owners that loophole does not apply to people with mental health or addiction issues. The lawsuit asks the judge to rule that that ordinance is discriminatory.
So, a hotel owner wants to help the homeless, drug addicted, and they can't do what they want to be able to do on their own property. The city has to get involved. Yes, that's right, Carol. Okay. Hundreds of apartments in Edison, this is in New Jersey, evacuated after 2 ceilings collapsed in a week.
Hundreds of families left without a place to stay. Their homes literally falling apart. Serious structural concerns forcing 11 of the 12 buildings at an apartment complex in Edison to be evacuated. We're talking about nearly 300 units. And investigators only looked into the buildings because the ceiling collapsed in 2 different apartments, almost a week apart. Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Carlo talked tonight to a family who lived in one of those damaged apartments.
As Rakesh collects belongings from his apartment, he still can't believe what it looks like now after the entire ceiling caved in on his parents while asleep in bed.
I was a bit shocked as soon as I woke up, and I was even more shocked by going into their room.
Rakesh's 62-year-old parents are visiting from India to help with his newborn. The headache they have, not from a crying baby, but from drywall and plaster, wearing the ceiling as a blanket.
The ceiling was pretty heavy. I mean, I was not able to lift it.
The Patel family are not the only ones to have to abruptly leave. 280 apartments, all 12 buildings at Evergreen Meadows, ordered to evacuate by Edison Township because of structural hazards, namely second-floor ceilings.
Where are they going to go? How about for many American seniors, their retirement savings are not enough? I'll link below to this. This is, yeah, American seniors. They're still working. They can't retire. They can't afford an awful lot. You know the score, right? Yes, you do. So families who are being forced from apartment complex after code violations speak out. This is different from what we just saw in New Jersey. This is Colorado.
Less than 72 hours, an apartment complex in Aurora, home to dozens of low-income families, will close. Those families were given less than a week to figure out where to go next after the city of Aurora served tenants with an eviction notice on Wednesday. The apartment complex at 15th and Nome is facing condemnation due to a history of poor conditions and long-standing code violations, this according to the city. Aurora police also deemed that building a criminal nuisance property last year after receiving more than 100 calls for service in just about 12 months. Your reporter Jasmine Arenas has been following this story all week, talking with families impacted by the eviction, as well as with Aurora's mayor, who says this entire situation is due to slumlord issues. Tonight, Jasmine takes us back to the complex and shows us how families are trying to figure out what's next.
A weekend of uncertainty as residents begin to pack their bags.
We're gonna have to be outside. We only have Sunday and Monday.
Shaira Kais and her mother Inez, who is disabled, are still struggling to find a new home. She says even as a U.S. citizen, it's not easy. Their apartment unit once full of furniture that's now in storage.
Everybody's struggling.
Just a floor up, Colombian migrant Maria Ortega is sweeping the floors of the unit she will have to leave soon.
It makes me sad because we have nowhere to go.
She's one of many tenants who does not have a lease under her name, making it difficult to prove she has paid rent and to get assistance.
We have 2 little girls and my daughter is pregnant. It's very difficult.
Even with the ceiling inside her bathroom deteriorating, this was home, but now she's forced to be in survival mode.
Yeah, a lot of these apartments are pretty awful, but get out now. Evacuate, get out. This is what we're doing. Maybe we'll all be homeless. A mobile home park residents navigate what comes after eviction day. This is in Florida.
Residents at a Tampa mobile home park were being evicted in just 30 days. That eviction has now been delayed to 6 months, but residents are still struggling to avoid homelessness come September. News Channel 8's Nicole Rogers joins us now live from Skylight Trailer Park. And Nicole, I'm curious what happens next for these residents.
Jen, I spoke with them today and they're worried that that next step could be living out on the streets or, in their words, under a bridge. We spent the day working to find out what resources are available to them to make sure that doesn't happen. Residents here at Skylight Trailer Park received this eviction notice saying they have until September 8th to vacate the premises.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what they're going to do right now.
Colleen Anglin lives off of fixed income, receiving about $1,550 a month in Social Security. She says she doesn't have anywhere to go and might end up homeless come September.
Nobody has any place to go. We don't know where we're going. I don't either. I don't know where I'm going. They don't know where they're going. None of us know where we're going.
Is that scary?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So what do they do? 8 on Your Side did some digging to see what resources are available to help Anglin and anyone else going through a similar situation. Tampa city officials pointed us to this housing information line. It connects residents with housing services that could help. As for Hillsborough County, officials went to the property and assessed the condition of the mobile homes, saying most of them do not appear to be stable enough to be moved.
Okay, so they lose the home, what they're living in, their shelter. And do you think those housing assistant government housing assistance is really providing the kind of assistance that people need? I don't think so. Bel Air House, Maryland, explosion? Look at this explosion. That's a mighty fine explosion. The 73-year-old owner of this house died. Apparently the house was up for sale and they were working on something having to do with the electricity. That's intense. I don't know what to say, but let's see. BGE contractor. 73-year-old homeowner killed after house explodes in Maryland.
We start with new details about a home explosion in Harford County, Maryland. Authorities say 73-year-old man believed to be the homeowner and a BGE contractor were killed. The contractor was called to the residence in Bel Air early this morning to check out an electrical issue. A neighbor also got hurt, and 12 families in the community have been displaced. Firefighters were initially called just before 7 a.m. for a gas leak, but as they were responding, they started receiving calls that the home had exploded.
This is probably one of the largest explosions. I've been on the job for nearly 18 years. This is one of the largest explosions I've seen, especially even in Harford County. So we will have to document each and every one of those houses that were affected by this explosion.
Investigators from across Maryland are working to determine how many houses were damaged and how far the blast radius was. First responders are still searching the debris for other possible victims.
Wow. So, evacuate, weather warfare, get out, code violations. The house explodes. A whole lot of people are facing what a whole lot of you do not want to ever face. Oh, man. Police raid offices of Cape Coral home builder. Listen to this. I posted videos on the same thing happening in Texas. Contractors that have been paid to build homes walk away. And those who are waiting for their homes to be built lose an awful lot of money.
So it's not a normal situation.
People with unfinished homes in Cape Coral are scrambling to find another builder after this week's stunning police raid on Beatty Development. NBC2's Sarah Mankiewicz spoke with customers in a tight spot and a builder who wants to finish the job.
The losses are staggering.
I would say I'm out probably at least $200,000 from this.
I think I'm losing $350,000, my mom $250,000 out of our retirement savings.
We've paid so far $600,000 and our house is not finished.
This week's police raid on Beatty Development in Cape Coral comes after more than half a dozen customers filed complaints with the state, saying Beatty took their money and never finished the job. Now another developer says they're willing to finish the job.
We'll try to minimize the heartache and financial damage as much as we can, but it's very unfortunate that some of these people have lost a lot of money and their lives have just been turned upside down.
Barry Fry with Fry & Son Homes in Cape Coral says at least 7 people building homes with Beatty Development have reached out to them.
What we're offering is that we can kind of analyze the situation for them, see what kind of liens are, get our attorney involved, and get a handle on things, take a look at their plans, find out which subs, would probably continue on the job, like a pool contractor, we'd probably keep them on the job, hopefully the electrician and the plumber.
While Fry & Son Homes are stepping up to help people who were building with Beatty, they say there's a lot more challenges when it comes to working on a home that was already started with another developer, especially when it comes to things like legal battles and working with new companies.
It just seems that no matter what it is that you try to do today, you can't expect it to go smoothly. You can expect a whole lot of frustration and loss, financial loss. Hundreds of St. Pete condo buildings in need of inspection under new Florida law. And what happens? Well, this new Florida law has placed a number, over 200, but only 78 have been inspected so far. The inspections and any repairs or anything that has to do with shoring up the structure of the building, the cost goes to the owner of the property. What do you think the owner of the property is going to do then? Going to hit those who are in the condo building for the money. And I'll post the link if you want to check it out. It's really sad what's happening, man. God, it's the scale of what is happening is pretty frightening. I'm going to go bankrupt. Dallas, Texas. Dallas permitting error leaves builders in limbo. You can't even expect when you get approval, when you get that permit from your government, from your local government, that they're not going to yank it. Oh, God.
Every city does it. They decide what can or cannot be built in your neighborhood. But tonight, a zoning mistake could bankrupt some Dallas developers. The city just stopped construction on more than a dozen homes in the Elm Thicket North Park neighborhood near Love Field. As Cole Sullivan reports, the city says inspectors approved permits, but using old information.
To build a home, you need a vision.
It's going to look really cool.
You're proud of the design.
Oh yeah, it's really cool.
Danny Lee's vision is a modern-looking duplex here in the Elm Thicket North Park neighborhood. And the city of Dallas told him, go for it.
Everything's good. They approved it, stamped it, gave me the green light to build.
Then they took the permit back with a red stop work notice.
They just slapped it on my sign right here. You still see the tape.
He didn't know why.
But here's the one that is completely out of compliance.
Gus Perez did.
With every new modern build with the look like a dentist office was kind of eroding and chipping away at the history of the neighborhood.
A couple years back, he helped fight to get Dallas to ban the modern-looking homes here. But new ones still started popping up.
And I'm looking at that, I said, this can't be right. I mean, I was on the Authorized Hearing Steering Committee. I know the restrictions.
It wasn't right. The city messed up. It now says it mistakenly gave permits to nearly 24 homes that broke the new zoning rules. It says it's looking into changes to make sure a mistake like this doesn't happen again.
It's the city's fault, 100%. Yeah, had they told me I couldn't build something like this, I would have never built it.
He and other builders plan to appeal, which neighbors like Perez say they'll fight.
There's nothing I can do. I mean, at this point, if they tell me I can't build, the bank's going to take this project. I'm going to go bankrupt after this.
A mistake from the city that's costing builders big.
You can't count on anything. No more security. Residents in rural North Texas town speaking out against the use of biosolids fertilizer.
Out to a follow-up to a WFAA investigation tonight. We told you about a fertilizer that is made of human waste. It was suspected of killing livestock and making people sick. As crime and justice reporter Rebecca Lopez learned, there is a fight east of Dallas now to keep it out of another community.
Ranchers and farmers are fighting to stop what is about to happen on this property in Van Zant County.
How would you feel if this was in your backyard?
The owner of these more than 200 acres has filed for a permit from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to spread biosolids, also called sewage sludge, on his land. It's fertilizer made from human waste that comes from wastewater treatment plants across the state.
This chemical is toxic, and there's no way around it.
These giant piles. As WFAA has previously reported, biosolids can contain high levels of chemicals called PFAS, or forever chemicals, that scientists say are carcinogenic. Earlier this year, we told you about Johnson County ranchers who say their land is contaminated and their livestock and fish are dying after a neighbor put biosolid fertilizer on his property. At a contentious meeting in Canton, citizens are trying to stop a landowner from spreading biosolids made by another company on his property about 30 minutes outside the city.
I stand with the ranchers, the farmers, the homeowners, and the people in this room and ask you to deny this permit on the basis of all forever chemicals are toxic and is not needed in rural Texas.
TCEQ was at the meeting along with a representative from Denali. That's the company that makes the human waste fertilizer to be used in Van Zandt County.
What staff have done is looked at everything that exists at the federal level and the state level, and the applicant has met all of those burdens and obligations.
Proponents of biosolid fertilizers say it's safe, but at least one state, Maine, has banned its use.
It all sounds pretty bad.
Residents at the meeting demanded to know why biosolids are allowed to be used as fertilizer in Texas.
We all can sit here, we know it's dangerous.
The TCEQ representative said their hands are tied because under current Texas regulations, they don't have the capacity to test for PFAS. They say they are waiting for new EPA guidelines that are expected later this year.
The issue becomes for the state, they have to have a policy that they can apply to every single permittee how to do that. And right now it's not clear how best to come up with that strategy.
According to TCEQ, there are more than 40 sites in Texas where companies like Denali and others have been allowed to sell or sometimes give biosolids away to landowners to use.
We are being paid by the generators of the residuals to haul it away and spread it, but we're not paying. And he's not paying us to receive it, and we're not paying him.
Citizens demanded the permit be placed on hold until the EPA releases its guidelines on biosolids, since the companies can't guarantee that toxic chemicals from the biosolids won't end up on nearby properties, creeks, and in waterways.
Just outside of town, near less than 10 miles, there's a big aquifer under the ground where many of these people's wells probably get their water from. You can't guarantee that aquifer will not be poisoned by this stuff you're going to put on the ground.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, people have to rise up, speak out, get angry. You know, this is dangerous stuff, and your government is allowing it. 70% of U.S. workers are bracing for layoffs. Yeah, okay. So, what we've already seen, well, thousands more to be laid off in the next couple of weeks. We've seen how many people have been laid off. And these unemployment numbers, I listen to this guy and I'm thinking, are you kidding? You think 4.3% is high? Some are putting it in the 20s. The percentage in the 20s. And, oh my God. We are looking at a country that is going to be filled with people who are so stressed from having to survive every single day, desperate. What do people do when they're desperate? Whoa, man. That's why you got to help people in your community. You have to help people in your community. You know, don't you want to establish yourself as somebody who's giving and helpful? Maybe that could save you from getting attacked by your fellow Americans. We're seeing it already. We're going to see it on a massive scale.
The unemployment rate just came in way higher than expected at 4.3%. I don't think a single analyst was expecting it to come in this high. Looks like we are at that stage where the unemployment rate is going to be a main.
All right, this is a brain that's obviously, the propaganda has been successful.
Jobs in the last 3 months, and I still have not gotten an offer yet.
7 out of 10 corporate workers are preparing for layoffs. 88% of Gen Z believes they are most at risk for layoffs. If you are still in corporate, good luck.
We are midway through the year, and it seems like the job market still has not recovered yet. People are being laid off, people are still looking for jobs, and it seems like there is no opportunities out there. I've gathered multiple videos so we can understand better what's going on and hopefully getting more answers It's very difficult out there and people are suffering. So let's watch this video and then try to understand what's happening in the job market right now. My name is Ina Moyo. Welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe, like, and comment.
I will post the link to this video, but yeah, people are applying for so many jobs and no one's hiring. Yes, you might see, oh, we're hiring, but then people apply for the jobs and they're not hiring, which I have shown on these live streams. Euthanasia up double digits as thousands of Coloradans surrender dogs. This is going on throughout the country.
We have learned euthanasia at area animal shelters are up by double digits as thousands of Coloradans surrender their dogs. The National Canine Advocacy Group says the 6 largest shelters along the Front Range took in over 42,000 dogs last year, euthanized nearly 5,000 of them, a 24% increase over 2022. That is despite having no-kill policies.
As Sean Boyd reports, some shelters are so overwhelmed, they're turning dogs away.
Colorado's animal shelters have reached a tipping point. Dogs that once were adopted within days are now waiting weeks and months, and some don't make it out. While many shelters have no-kill policies, they don't apply to dogs that are unhealthy or unsafe. Nearly 1,000 more dogs were put down in Colorado last year, and now the state's oldest shelter is even turning some dogs away. The Dumb Friends League has long billed itself as a socially conscious shelter, accepting all unwanted animals. But as dog surrenders soar and adoptions fall, Dumb Friends is suspending its open door policy.
For decades in this community, we have stretched and stretched and stretched as the need in the community has grown. And this is pushing us to the limit where we are just no longer able to stretch.
Chief Operating Officer Katie Parker says surrenders will now be by appointment only, and only if there is space, while most strays will be referred to municipal shelters. Access to the night shelter will also be limited. Dumb Friends says it took in about 10,000 dogs last year and euthanized about 1,200. Parker says many were adopted during COVID and never socialized. The longer they stay in a shelter, she says, the worse their mental state becomes, making them unsafe.
While they might have been adoptable and we might have tried to find them a home, the longer they wait here, the more difficult they are to find a home for.
She insists the shelter will not turn away any dog due to behavioral issues alone.
It's a first come, first serve, so it's about volume and the number of animals per day, not about what their needs are and how adoptable they are.
The dogs they don't have room for have to go somewhere, and Denver Animal Shelter says many end up here.
We are the only open admission animal shelter in the Denver metro area. We don't turn anybody away. Come on, let's go.
Director Melanie Sobel says they took in nearly 500 dogs in July after Dumb Friends changed its policies, an 18% increase over July of last year. Not only are more dogs entering the shelter, 75 to 80% of them aren't spayed or neutered, due in part to a loophole in state law. A bill aimed at closing the loophole was watered down this year.
There should be a mandate that every animal over the age of 6 months should be spay and neutered.
And animal imports, she says, should be banned. Last year alone, rescue organizations trucked in 18,000 dogs from out of state, even as Colorado shelters were overflowing.
There's animals sitting in shelters languishing in Colorado that need homes. And they're grateful. They're so grateful when they get a second chance.
Big problems in our country. Big problems. And yeah, it's if you can't hold on to your pets, then you should be putting them down. Don't traumatize them by offloading them into a shelter and then having some stranger do it. This is the condition that we're in. Aurora mayor addresses claim on Venezuelan gangs taking over parts of the city. I'm so glad we have an open border.
Aurora's mayor says the city will spend money on temporary housing for people who are living in an apartment complex being shut down by the city for terrible living conditions. Some of the 85 families living in that apartment building near Colfax and Nome gathered today along with community advocates asking for more time. They've been ordered out in 6 days. They're asking that they not be punished for the fact that the landlord allowed horrendous conditions to develop over years there. Piles of garbage, rats, sewer backups, no electricity.
Most assistance programs require time to resettle someone to another home. The planning and execution of this abatement is reckless and insufficient.
Today, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman told us that the municipal code dictates the faster timeline for closing that apartment building. He called the owners out-of-state slumlords who are currently being taken to court by the city for allowing their properties to become so dangerous. That property owner and now 3 conservative city council members in Aurora say that the residents and the city are not telling the truth. They claim, without evidence, that the building is actually being closed because it was taken over by a Venezuelan gang.
That building has been a problem for years.
Mountains of garbage, rats, sewage, no electricity. Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman defends the unprecedented decision by the city to close the entire apartment building at Colfax and Nome.
We've been working with this building and its owners for a very long time. I mean, they're out-of-state slumlords, and they haven't maintained the building.
The landlord from New York has hired a public relations firm out of Florida and now has several of Mayor Kaufman's fellow conservatives on Aurora City Council convinced that the real issue is not years of code violations, but a city cover-up of a takeover of the complex by a Venezuelan gang.
We have a Venezuelan gang problem that has taken over a number of our apartment complexes.
The city of Aurora says that's not true, and Aurora police urge City Council to be wary of misinformation.
We don't know that all the information that's publicly out there right now is correct. It's probably not.
Aurora police say they believe the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua is operating inside the Denver metro area. There's a new task force working to identify the number of gang members and what they're doing.
They're here. We know they're here. We think this was a test.
City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky suggested that a recent mass gathering of Venezuelans to await election results was linked to the gang. Mayor Kaufman says it's counterproductive to conflate a gathering of thousands of people with gang activity at a time when Aurora needs help from Venezuelan immigrants to root out the gang.
It's challenging because they tend to prey on their own. In other words, these are Venezuelan gang members within the Venezuelan community, which is new to our area, and there's a fear factor in terms of trying to get the cooperation among these Venezuelan migrants to report, that they're being victimized.
The conservatives on City Council made clear that nothing the mayor or police were saying trumped their feelings.
This is just what we believe. Our opinions are not up for debate. This is our beliefs. The 3 of us believe that there is a gang problem, a huge gang problem, that apartment complexes and areas of our city are being taken over.
Mayor.
They're all over the country. They're all over the country. Not just Venezuelans, but a whole lot of gangs and organized crime syndicates. Oh boy, we're in for a really jolly, jolly time. So when you look at people like this, and you think of the election, and you think that a whole lot of people are claiming there's going to be a civil war. Well, civil war. Civil war means that there's an organized war. 2 teams. Yeah, we've got the red, we've got the blue, but nobody will know who the hell is who. But man, the closer we get, watch out. And before I play this, I have said for years, don't identify yourself. Don't publicly identify yourself with, MAGA hats and your Trump posters putting on your lawn and bumper stickers, because you're just setting yourself up to be attacked.
Oh. Hello?
Hi, is your name Dave Holder?
Dave? No.
Dave Holder.
James? Yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm coming to your door is, I had somebody look into that thing in your yard that I think is a monstrosity, and I don't really like the way it's like degrading your neighborhood, and he worked for the electric company, and he said that's not your property. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to remove it, or I will be making a complaint.
Hey, check this out. A couple points. When we moved in, we had a survey done that is 110% my property. That the county will verify it.
It says it is the roadway easement.
It's not the easement. I've got a survey. And this is the thing. You guys need to mind your own business. It's my yard. It's not. If the county could have did something about it, they would have.
Okay, but it's our neighborhood, and you're degrading our neighborhood and bringing down our. I mean,
It's just somebody who lives in the neighborhood.
It's. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what you think, lady. And listen, turn your ass around and get off my property.
Okay, well, I am going to be making a complaint. I just wanted to let you know, because it is our neighborhood. Put it on your mantle, but don't degrade our neighborhood. I don't care who you vote for, but it's disgusting monstrosity.
Your fucking attitude's disgusting. Don't come back to my yard.
I guess she's not done.
Hey!
And your trespass fines are also not in the yard. Okay.
Hey, guess what? Trump's gonna be your daddy again.
Oh, the games we play. The dangerous games we play. And look at this guy. What? Ugh, these people, they're just shameless.
At a time when many, many Americans are giving up on democracy, they are hurting.
Unfortunately, Americans, if they are giving up on democracy, they're giving up on something we never had, and they're clearly not understanding that we're not a democracy. We were intended to be a constitutional republic. But who cares? And Bernie Sanders sure as hell ain't going to educate his constituents.
They look to the government, they vote, and nothing happens. The rich get richer, they get poorer. And they're saying, hey, all of this democracy and all this election stuff, it's all a crock. It doesn't matter. And they are willing to look at authoritarianism as a substitute for the democracy we have.
The authoritarianism is the Trumpers. That's Trump. Yeah, because the Democrats are not authoritarian. Do people actually believe this horseshit? They're both authoritarian. Oh, boy. Oh, and I had covered this Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton in Illinois. And it was so, she and her cronies are so fabulously corrupt. And this has been going on for years. The woman should be sitting behind bars. So who did they appoint to do the investigation? Lori Lightfoot, former mayor of Chicago. But Lori Lightfoot, wow, she sure did come up with a whole lot, $46,000 to using city credit cards to purchase products on Amazon, like $46,000. I think in a day, 3.2 million is missing. Oh, why can't we get rid of the obviously corrupt? Why?
The village of Dalton is more than $3.5 million in the hole. Mayor Tiffany Henyard is accused of misusing money, and today she's nowhere to be found.
Tara Molina spent the day in Dalton following the investigation into Henyard's spending. Tara?
Jim and Marie, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is the special investigator in this case. And like we first told you last night, not only did she find the village of Dalton is in significant debt, but she also found the village's credit card spending is out of control. Mayor Tiffany Henyard didn't respond to any of my requests today, and I'm told she's not in the building. No response to repeated interview requests. I tried to track down Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard in person today. Village employees told me she wasn't in the office and didn't say when she would be, a day after this. A packed community meeting Thursday night, outburst after outburst. Following special investigator Lori Lightfoot's limited examination of Dalton's finances. Her report revealing as of May 31st, the village's general fund had a negative balance of $3.65 million. Lightfoot originally hired by trustees concerned about spending, like self-promoting taxpayer-funded billboards, ads, plus spending on lavish dinners and trips.
Why are we going to these places? What's happening here?
Dalton trustee Brittany Norwood sat down with the CBS News Chicago investigators in February, telling us then trustees were denied requested bank statements.
You're having the same reaction that we did when we saw it.
With credit card spending out of control.
Receipts for credit card purchases are rarely provided.
Lightfoot further uncovering spending that doesn't add up. The report shows $40,000 spent on Amazon purchases in one day, money that's unaccounted for.
These are somebody using one of the credit cards.
Another question lingering here, money spent on police overtime, with 2 officers racking up 6 figures in pure OT, $108,000 and $114,000. The deputy chief, just fired here last week, Louis Lacey, paid $96,000 in overtime.
The village has been unable to pay all of its monthly expenditures with available cash balance.
I reached all of the village's trustees in reporting this story today. As of right now, I have not heard back from one of them. Of course, we also haven't heard back from Mayor Tiffany Henyard. If any of that changes, we'll update the story that's up on our website right now, where you can.
And she also used the police as her own bodyguards, but, you know, it was like sicking a dog against the residents, any of the residents who complained. Then they were targeted by the police in this city. Whoa. And what is it with Americans that we can't get rid of, you know, the obvious worst of the worst? I don't know. All right, I'm going to stop now. Pick up tomorrow. I appreciate everybody showing up and hope to see you tomorrow night. A lot is going on. A lot of people are suffering. So do your best to help out. Do your best to help out, okay? Help those in your community. Live honestly, speak honestly. You know, that's the only way. That is the only way that you could ever manifest anything better. And yes, it is our individual responsibility to do just that. Of course, we need the individuals in the aggregate, but doesn't mean that you individuals are off the hook. We have to. So, and as you can see, the shelters are overwhelmed. The food banks are overwhelmed. I don't know what to tell you. You know, I'm scared for myself. I'm scared for an awful lot of you. This is the condition of this country already. Is, well, in a whole lot of areas, it's third world with a whole lot of people suffering. So Yeah. Stay safe, everyone. And on that note, I say to all of you, good night and good luck. Ciao, guys.